I'd like to start by telling you about an amazing conversation I had, a phone conversation with a client of ours just before Christmas. Let's call him David. So I rang David with a request, and the response he gave me blew my mind, completely blew me away. Steffi's talked about this issue with businesses getting through that growth issue and going into scale up and so on, and about the choice of scale up. We've made that choice in Illuminis. We've decided, yeah, we're going to go for it. We're going to scale this business and make something really good out of it. We're busy building those business plans and looking at our numbers and looking how we can make this business go forward. And we're grabbing every bit of advice we can get from whoever will give it to us. We're looking at all the people we know and going there. David's somebody I've known for a while, and I know that he's been instrumental in growth with several businesses. And I thought, he's a guy that'd be worth spending a bit of time with and asking, showing him our plans, getting him to give us some questions and see what he thinks about what we're doing. So I made that phone call and asked if he could spare an hour or two with us. His response to that was what blew me away. And it was, Paul, in the last year, you've saved me over £100,000. I'll give you whatever time you need happily. What a fantastic response. So what did we do to make him an extra £100,000 in that year? All we did was we gave him and his staff easy access to a huge resource in their business. And that's their business data locked up in their accounts and financial systems. It was there, they just couldn't really get to it. What I'd like to do over the next 15, 20 minutes is just talk about the transformations that SMEs can go through to make that kind of change. First of all, we know that businesses have got all this data in. So where is that basis? Let's kick off and find out, where do we mostly get our business data from? Obviously, the account system, the ERP system. If you're not sure, an ERP system is a collection of applications that join together to manage your business and the financials in one go. Things like Sage, things like Iris Exchequer, ERP systems. Most businesses hold other information, particularly targets and stuff, in, of course, spreadsheets. Not a business out there that hasn't got lots of their data in spreadsheets. But you might have other things too. You might have workflow management systems. You might have a CRM system with some customer and contact stuff in there. So you've got a lot of data and it's in different places. But in terms of looking at the numbers that Steffi was talking about, really, the main place that you're going to find it is in that accounts or ERP system. But what we know is that they're not really very good at reporting by and large. And I think that's because their focus is mostly on actually doing the transactioning, making the business work. And it's about that monthly financial reporting and producing those statutory reports. They're great at P&Ls, they're great at balance sheets. But actually, they're generally very poor at sharing all of the other stuff around to the people in the business. Of course, if you want to give people access to that data, you've got licensing issues, you need licensing for that software. These aren't simple systems, they're complex, so we've got training issues and those kind of things required. And of course, on top of all of that, you've got actually physical access to the system, security restrictions to make sure people don't see things they shouldn't see, ability to mess things up and so on. So those things are all kind of difficult. And of course, what about all the other data that's not in there? How can we get all that together? Interestingly, just to show you something we've been discovering recently, Xero's getting loads of traction, another of these cloud accounting systems. And what we're finding talking to people using Xero is, as great as they are for the financials, they're now separating a lot of their transactional data into other systems where they then hold the financial bits in. So actually this is exacerbating this problem of things being in different places, particularly in the SME world. So for all of those reasons, what do most SMEs do in terms of their reporting? They do spreadsheets. That's what we see all the time. That's where the reporting gets done. And you need data entry to get into that spreadsheet to make them happen. Some of it is automated, but what's the usual way spreadsheets are built? People type them in. And I'm sure you've all seen the situation, business owner gets a report from Sage or whatever, it's a nice PDF, he sticks it on his desk and he starts typing the numbers in his spreadsheet. And errors occur at that point simply and so on. You might get someone who's a bit more sophisticated, they can do cut and paste, so they'll actually open up that PDF and do the cut and paste. You might get some odds to things, but that does tend to make things a bit better. And if you do have kind of skilled users, then maybe some actual extraction using ODBC drivers and whatever can give you ways of getting that data straight in. Whichever way you do it, that's usually a huge task. And what that means is that typically becomes a monthly activity. It's generally done much less than that. But what I'd like you to know is that a software solution to this kind of thing can utterly revolutionize this process. If you can get software to pick up all of that manual activity and deliver it for you, that'll make a big difference. So Here's how we handle the data in our clients. It's grabbed every day from the account system or the target data stuff in spreadsheets or whatever, and it's pulled into a central database completely automatically. So that obviously we then got a central, really sophisticated database system in the middle, it's ever so powerful, that can then produce reporting to the people in the business wherever they need it, whenever they need it. First part of that obviously is that data extraction, that getting that data from the systems into the main system. This is the thing that can replace all of that manual typing and so on of spreadsheets. So what we've done from a software point of view is we've developed a data extraction tool that will go to a variety of different systems, completely automatically grab that data, feed it into our database, and get it all slotted in nice and easily without anybody having to do anything. So this can happen every day, twice a day, whatever it might be going forwards. And I'd like to just quickly show you what it looks like. So this is going to be time-lapse because it takes a bit longer than I've got time in this presentation now. But this data is from a Sage 50. It's a real-time thing. Sage 50 data. Let's make it run. This business turns over about 5 million. We've got loads of sales invoice items, sales orders, customers, stock records, transactions, does some data collection, and it actually takes just over 3 minutes. And it's one of our bigger systems and it's one of our slower ones at 3 minutes. It can typically happen quite a bit quicker than that. So what that's done is now every day, completely automatically, whatever work's been done in your business, whatever data's been created and generated in your accounts package, that's now in a place that can be reported to the entire business really quickly and really easily. So most of us are very idea then with that idea of reporting and going to report generators or writing our spreadsheets to create reports. And I'm going to look at that in a bit more detail. But before we do that, I'd just like to carry on this automation bit to start with and look at another thing that we can do that can be really helpful on the automation front. And I'd like to talk about the idea of push reporting. So push reporting is, in essence, those great nuggets of data that turn up in your inbox on a regular basis, maybe every day. So let's have a look at the idea of that. So automated daily emails that can improve workflow and drive efficiencies, something really straightforward. They can do things that will seamlessly cross-check your task, remove roadblocks out of the business, and particularly where we all know that most of the data that goes into our account system is put in by somebody by hand. Sure, we've got automatic bank feeds and some of that stuff, but when invoices are raised, when stock transactions are done, whatever, someone's typing those in, errors get made, records get created. So actually being able to use this kind of technology to look for errors and data gaps and prompt corrections is another really good thing that you can do. And if you can get those delivered directly to the person that can make a difference, then you can really streamline the processes in the business. So I'm going to share with you what I mean using we have a laughingly called housekeeping tool that every day does some looking at this data that's been collected and can send some reports. I'm going to show you 3 emails. These are real emails that came out this week. I've anonymized them, but these came out from one of our clients earlier this week. Give you an idea on the 3 different types of things that we can do. So let's first of all look at housekeeping KPI report. So in this particular instance, it's just sending out emails that show orders that got raised yesterday that have a low margin on them. So if you're the guy that's the category manager at the end here, you're looking after these products, and it now turns out that some sales rep down the corridor is dishing out your products at lower than margin, you find out on the day it's happened. So you can get to manage your targets and your margins looking at that data. It's there in your inbox every morning. Next one is about process. So this one lists customers on stop in the account system, but who actually paid their bill this week. Now, typically in an accounts package, it's quite a long-winded thing to do to say, well, someone's paid some money. Have I got to go and find out if they're on stop or not and all that kind of stuff? It's a long-winded process. This one gives the accounts department a quick and simple, here's my email, I can go take them off stop. The goods get released and that roadblock between the accounts department and the warehouse just disappears. Finally, just a straightforward data quality option. Many businesses in the UK are having to report on a monthly basis Intrastat reports. So these are the reports that go to the HMRC to talk about the amount of goods you're shipping in and out of the EU. You have to make that report work by what's called a commodity code on each stock item. If you haven't got that commodity code on the stock item, you've got to get it on there before you can run your monthly report. So this report simply gives you those items that are sat in the warehouse that you've been shipping or shipped in that are missing a commodity code. Getting half a dozen of these every day is an awful lot better than running the report on the day it's due and finding you're missing 100 and you've got to go scrabbling about to get them. So again, just keeping on top of these things can really make a big difference. So again, I'm going to watch this one run. This is actually Iris Exchequer data. So a bigger system. We've got 80 individual reports amongst what's going on in the screen there, and they'll go out in 41 emails to the staff around the business. We've got stuff to do with KPIs, we've got stuff to do with workflow, and we've got some of those data quality stuff too. And all of that happens in 20 seconds. And it's utterly automatic. It just sits there at the end of the routine in the evening, and when people come into the desk in the morning, they've got the emails to make a difference to the business there and then, right across the business. Let's move on, so much for automation. Let's move on to deliberately going and getting the data that you want to do and getting the numbers that Steffi talked about to be able to make a decision, make your decisions more useful and so on. One of the measures that we find really makes a difference is actually looking at gross margin. Just to be clear for the non-accountants in the room, by that I mean gross margin is the percentage of your sales that your profit is. So it's this ratio between your sales and your profit. Less than a third of people actually measure these at all. What we find is that most actually don't really target at all gross margin. Most businesses, when you talk to them, say, yeah, our gross margin is about 30%. And they've got a kind of, this is the number that we know is kind of the number in our business. But if you look at a P&L, although it has the numbers to show that, there's never a line that says, and my gross margin percentage is, whatever, it's just, here's my turnover, here's my profit. And it's not looked at often in very much detail. The problem is that it's really time consuming to calculate that on any kind of granular level, because there is an awful lot of data involved in making that happen. But of course, if you've got a software approach, then you can analyze that gross margin from pretty much every angle, and you can drill down to the base detail. And we know from working with our customers, this is something that makes a massive difference on profitability. And I'm going to give you some examples using some screenshots from our product. This is one of our classic Octolash reports. What it's showing you is sales turnover each month for a particular business. We've got figures on here which are to do with this year's numbers, last year's numbers, variance against those numbers. We can see variances, green being good ones, red being bad ones, so it's really quick and simple to see them. We've got target information in there, and we can do some visualizations to have a look at those things in nice graphical formats too. If I take a little look at the graphs at the bottom, the left-hand side is month by month, the right-hand side is accumulative across the year. In very simple terms, the yellow line is what we did last year, month on month. The black line is what we plan to do this year. That's what we're aiming at, that's our target. And the red is what we've achieved so far. What I can see from the chart at the top there is that by the end of January, so with 2 months to go on this particular business's turnover, after 10 months, our sales are 3.7% up. That's pretty good. We're growing more than inflation. That's great news we've got there. But because this is built on top of this combined data in this really powerful database system that can crunch huge amounts of numbers really quickly, and I'm talking about something that you can run on a laptop. I'm not talking about a really big thing. These are things we've all got access to. We can start looking at those numbers in different ways. So instead of looking at those figures by the value, let's just make a couple of clicks and turn that into a gross profit. So now I'm actually looking at how much money did we make. You can see the same graphs, we've got the same sets of numbers in different ways. Again, still looks pretty good, doesn't it? Where our red line is above our yellow line. It's even above our target at the gross profit level. So we're doing really quite nicely and it's looking good. And again, if I look at the end of the January month figures, year to date, we're at 3.4% increase on profit. So again, happy days. We've made more money, we've sold more goods, things are really good. Business is going well, isn't it? Well, let's see, is it really? Because we can do another one. We can go look at gross margin instead. So let's change that. Let's go down to gross margin, add some decimal points in so we can see it in a bit more detail, and take a look at the numbers at the gross margin level. So this is our ratio of profit to sales. Now it's not so good. The year started pretty well, but over the last quarter or so, something's going wrong. We're suddenly losing significant gross margin. So although we're turning over more sales, our costs are going up disproportionately against that. Sales are good, profit's much better, but where we are is the places we can make more money because we're making those sales, but something's going wrong with that. Again, because we've got all this data sat behind something that we can get software to do all the work for us, let's go back to that December figure and let's drill into it and have a look at some more detail on what's happening in the December numbers. So this report is a report that for each of our customers in the business gives us all of the numbers for that customer. So we've got our turnover, we've got what was the actual cost and therefore the profit. We've got gross margin and we've got some target information too. Now I'm going to scroll it up in a second, but in this column here where the gross margin is, Octolash also has some little coloured markers that help you to spot gross margin figures that are perhaps outside of the norm. So if it's a particularly good one, as we've got one at the bottom, we get a little green arrow, which is that's good, we're making more profit there. But if it's bad, it goes red and it goes downwards. So if we sort that column by the gross margin, so we're now looking at the low gross margin stuff at the top, and we scroll up to have a look at some of these other customers, the ones at the top, we've got a whole host with that red indicator. And the ones where I'm highlighted at the moment, that's showing about 10% margin. This business typically does 16 or 17%. So what's going wrong with all those customers? Why are we suddenly losing margin in all those places? We can drill down further, and now we can really get into the actual transactional detail at the bottom of it and have a look. So here's the details of those transactions. Again, let's sort it by the gross margin so we can see the low stuff. And when it zooms up here, you can see here's the real actual problem that we've got. So to that particular customer in December, we sold 6 items where we spent more buying it than we sold it to them for. We have a gross margin which is negative. When you've got large quantities of sales and so on, large quantities of customers, whatever, pricing things that go wrong somewhere can lead to this kind of information being utterly hidden. Remember, our turnover was up, our gross profit was up, happy days, but we're missing it. We're losing, in that in those top 6 items there, remember there were loads on the screen before, there's £250 that didn't come our way that should have done by our average, just to even break even, let alone the actual profit. So we're probably losing, in that one particular customer, hundreds of pounds worth of sales. And that's the power of having this kind of technology available to really look at these numbers for you. Also talked about the fact that you can look at these gross margin figures by any number of different metrics. Because the data's there, it's really quick and easy to go in. So we can go back and grab that gross margin in any different ways. Let's have a look at it, for example, by sales area. So rather than looking at all of our customers, let's group it up a bit higher and see if we can find any other patterns. So here's our 11 sales areas across the country. We can see our nice standard, everything's rosy for our gross margins, except the top one. Something's rotten in the state of Birmingham in this particular thing. Birmingham's only doing 14%. What's going on? Maybe that's where the actual issue is, and we can drill into that, go talk to the managers there and really find out what's going on. Now, you're probably thinking that I've massaged my demo data a bit to be able to make this point for you. Yeah, and you'd be right, I did. However, what I have to tell you is, in just about every company we've put this technology into, and we've given the business owner the ability to look at gross margin by customer, which they've never seen before, within days there's been ooh, what's that one? Why have I got a red arrow down there? And literally every company we've worked with, we've found where they're selling goods either well below margin or, like that one, actually at a loss. And it was there, hidden in plain sight all the time. So it's a very common thing, and it's just lost money. It really is. What I just want to talk about now is just to go on, because software isn't really just about spotting problems. It's also about driving better things, good things too. It's a perfect tool to really able to understand what's really going on in your business. I just want to talk through four reports that people, that our customers like and worth sort of thinking about too, that become really easy to do with software but are really difficult to do in your spreadsheet manually with data. So the first one to talk about is pivot reports. So pivot reports are these reports where you can look at 2 metrics. So you've got one metric down the side, maybe customer, and then another metric along the top, maybe your product types. So it's great for doing reports like they bought this, maybe they'll buy that. So you get a report, for example, where you'd see all of your customers, you'd see a column for all of the drills they've bought and a column for all the drill bits they bought. And you can quickly spot the ones that are buying one and not the other. So really great opportunity of spreading your business through your existing customers, as Steffi says, loving them and ringing them up and saying, hey, did you not know we sold drill bits? Because you love our drills. Let's sell you those too. Why are you going elsewhere? The next one, the moving annual totals. So this is the report that helps you smooth out seasonality. So instead of looking at the data each month, it looks at the accumulation of the previous 12 months into a monthly figure, and it removes seasonality. So we have a customer that sell equine health products. They sell things for horses that work only in the winter. They have nets in the summer for keeping flies off. Very, very up and down figures across the year. Looking at it as a moving total, you can really see what's going on in the underlying trends. Another option, the grouping of data. There are very few accounting systems, unless you pay an awful lot of money, that although they'll give you the ability to create multiple companies in those systems, will join those companies together as a single group reporting. Because we're grabbing that data centrally, then being able to do group reports, and it's something, for example, we've done with a Xero customer recently. They've got 5 European headquarters, each running a different currency. We can grab all of that together and give them a single group-wide P&L in pounds 4 times a day, not the once a month that took the guy half a day to do. So just being able to automate, do these things, really clever. And the last option, we're doing a lot of work. In more recent, it's funny how these things go in little phases. When one customer suddenly asks for it and it becomes popular. Performance reports, where you can start looking at metrics like average order value and order counts and so on. And there are great ways of looking at different bits of the business and seeing, so why is that bit of the business able to do 50 orders a day and they're only doing 30? Is there something we can share best practice to really make a difference? Just finally to finish off, I've talked about sales pretty much only sales during this thing, but just to say this isn't just about sales reporting. Sales is the thing that most people do, and it's the thing that gives lots of the real instant wins and so on. You can do the same kind of stuff with purchasing, great stuff with stock valuation, stock counting, looking at how your stock values are changing over the year. Things like if you're a business that sells projects or time, construction, so on, consultancies, then project costs and performance, time sheets, all of that kind of stuff. You can get just this same kind of insight stuff through this kind of technology. So I'm going to summarize with what I hope are my take-homes from the presentation. So the first one is, data in SMEs is a key asset. It's a huge key asset, and it's as much an asset as your staff and your customers. Really make it work for you. As much as you can, use the software to do the grunt work, because if you can get all that done and then dish out to the people in the business that need it, and that's everybody, the ability to really get to that data without any skill, because all the grunt work's been done by some clever thing in the background, it's going to transform the profitability that you can get. This idea of push reporting that can really drive performance benefits and data quality. Don't forget, focusing on gross margin really can drive increased profits in a business. And the last one really is that when it gets that easy to get the answers, the questions can get so much more complex. So the analysis of those numbers is really only limited by your imagination. One of the bits I utterly love about my job is on a monthly basis, a client will ring me up with an idea to look at their numbers that I've never thought of and no one else has ever thought of yet in our world. And it's like, what a great idea. Let's go and look at that particular analysis, because that's going to tell you what you need in your business. And we find that once you've taken these shackles of working away at the Excel spreadsheet all day, the imagination really comes. Thank you very much.